Hi and welcome to the King Cole YouTube channel. Today we're going to look at Fun Yummy. Originally we started off using it and you got this lovely bobbly effect. We've used it for various toys and things, and today we're going to look at how to knit it smooth so that you get this lovely effect, and you can actually do jumpers and garments in this quite nicely. So I'm going to show you today how to cast on and cast off, how to do knit one, purl one, rib, and stocking stitch. They make one, you knit two together, slip one, knit one, pass slip stitch over, another little one which is slip one and knit two together, pass slip stitch over. All these things sound fairly obvious on normal knitting, but when you're presented with this, we did notice that some of the knitters were struggling a little bit, so we're going to deal with all that today. Okay. So, to start with, we're going to get the yarn and we're going to start to cast on. Okay, so we're going to start with how to cast on. You've got these loops here, and on our patterns we recommend leaving a few loops at the beginning. Then you take your needle and you basically pop it through one of the loops, and they do tend to want to bend away from you, so you have to twist them slightly and go in from that side, and that will give you the easiest way to work with them when you are ready to do your knitting and purling. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to pop about 11 stitches on. 11. So I've literally just slipped those on each loop. Right. So having done the cast on, we're then going to look at how to do knit one, purl one, rib using the loops, because with this method you're actually knitting with the loops. So pop your needle in as normal, get your loop, slip it over your right needle, pull it through, slip it off. So the actual knitting and purling is very much the same. You then bring this forward, go into purl, and then pop that round and you've done a purl stitch. They're not going to be particularly obvious until you've done a couple of rows. So again, I've taken the yarn back through, gone to knit, bring it back to the front because I'm now going to purl, through to the back, find your loop, knit, bring it to the front, take your loop and purl. So I'll just get to the end of the row and then do a second row so that you can see just how it affects. Okay. One. And the last knit one. Then turn your work round just as normal. You can just start to see how it's forming. So then make sure the tail's out of the way. Going to do a normal purl. It is, as you can see, a little bit more fiddly, but as you do more, it gets easier. So you have to get the first couple of lines out of the way. So, purl stitch. One. final purl. And hopefully you can see how it's starting to form. Right. Okay, so we've now got a nice little bit of knit one purl one rib there, so you can see the effect that you'll get by doing it that way. And we're now going to look at stocking stitch. So this is the knit one row, purl one row. Really quite simple, because you are knitting in your normal way, just using the loops. So you do have to twist them the right way, because you do get a neater finish if you can make sure that you take each one and twist it. In as normal, loop and off, in as normal, loop and off. When you are doing this, just be careful with the thicker needles that you don't go too far in and rive at it, because eventually, if you were rough enough, you would, I think, probably split them or just spoil the yarn a little bit. So just be fairly gentle. I haven't broken anything yet, so it is fairly tough, but you don't want to spoil it halfway through. So then we turn around. So that's your knit stitch. Purl stitch again, going from the back. These are a little bit more fiddly than your knit stitches, I have to say. So in again, pick up the loop, pop it over the end of the needle, bring it round, in, pop it over the end of the needle, and round. Over, through and off, over, through and off. And nearly at the end of the row. So that's how to do your knit stitch and your purl stitch, and you start to get the nice smooth stocking stitch effect. Right, so we're now at the point where we've got a nice little bit of the knit one purl one rib and a nice little section of stocking stitch, and you can see how the loopy yarn is turning into quite a smooth fabric. So now we're going to look at how to make one. I'm going to just knit a couple of stitches normally, because with a make one you always have to be at least one stitch in from the edge. So with a make one, you pick up the loop between the two stitches, pop it back onto your left hand needle. For this one, take your next loop, wrap it and pull it through. It does seem a little bit tight at the moment, but don't worry about that. It does do a really neat increase. Then I'm just going to knit another couple of stitches so that I've got a slight gap between them, and I'm going to run through that again. So you put your right hand needle in, pop it onto your left needle, go into the back of it, take your next loop, wrap it round, bring it through, slip it off, and then knit your next stitch. So that is how you increase. So don't worry if it looks just slightly uneven on the first go. As you do your purl row, it will all even out. Okay, so I've now done this, and you can just about see here where I've done the increases. I've done them evenly at both sides, just to give a neater piece of fabric as we're working through, and it's more like how you would increase on, say, a sleeve. So I'm now going to do the other version of increasing that we've used on certain patterns. So I'm knitting 2 stitches just to give us an edge, and then you go in as though you're going to knit, but instead of just adding one loop on, you add two and pull both of them through, and that now gives you 2 stitches. It's a slightly different look. I think the make one gives a slightly smoother look. There is a little tiny bobble there, but the main thing with knitting is that you're consistent, and if you're consistent in what you do, then it can look, not only does it look neater, but it can be a slight feature as to what you're doing. So I'm just going to get towards the other end of the row and do this again. So if this was a sleeve and I was increasing at both ends, you slip 2 loops on, take that over, and there you've got your increase, and then work your last 2 stitches at the end. It can be 1 or 2 stitches at the end, but I would usually say for most increases it's good to have an extra stitch at the end. So that's the other way that we've done increasing on this. Okay, so we've now got the 2 different sets of increasing showing there, and I'm now going to look at decreasing. So we're going to do a knit 2 together and slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, which is what you would do so that your ends mirror one another when you're decreasing. So start off with just a knit 1 there at the end, and then it is the standard knit 2 together, so you go through 2 stitches from the front, get 1 loop, wrap it and bring it through, and you've decreased. So I'm just going to do 1 more of those so you can see it again. So you've got through both loops as normal, pick 1 loop up from the working yarn, bring it over and through, and that's it, you've done your decreasing there. So a couple of stitches just normally in the middle. Extra 1. So for this one, we've got the slip 1, take your loop, knit 1, and then pass that over the top. Okay, I'll just knit a stitch in the middle and do that once more. So slip 1, knit 1, pass your slip stitch over, and then if I knit the last stitch, and you've got your decreases at the end. So one leans in one direction, the other in the other direction, and it gives you a nice mirror image for your decreasing on that one. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is the slip 1, knit 2 together, pass slip stitch over. Now this can be used again with any yarn, and I'm demonstrating it simply because with the loops I think it will confuse people slightly, so it's always good to be able to see. So I'm just going to knit a few stitches to start with, get somewhere near the middle of the row, because it's the sort of thing that you'd do possibly on a neckline or something like that. So you slip 1, so go as though you're going to knit it, slip it onto that needle, then go into the next 2 stitches, knit them together, and then take the one you've slipped, pass it back over. So you've pulled 3 stitches into 1. I'll demonstrate it for you just once more. So slip 1, then knit 2 together, pick it up, pass it over, and then if we knit the one at the end, you can see how that's drastically reduced it. It might be something that you use for decreasing on a neckline or doing round the top of a hat as you're pulling in for the crown of the head. So there you go, that's that one. Right, so we're now going to look at the casting off, and again it really is quite simple, but it could be one of those that just throws people. So knit as normal, the next 2 stitches. Pick up the first one and pass it over, and it really is that simple. Knit another stitch with your loop, pick it up, pass it over, and again you just keep working along the line in the normal way. And in a moment, when we get to the other end, as usual, you get to your last stitch, and then that would need cutting off and just feeding through at the end there. When you come to sewing up the seams with this, it's virtually impossible to sew up in this yarn. So we recommend a colour that is as close to the fabric that you've made as possible, probably just in a DK, or you could use an Aran or a chunky, but DK is generally easier, and then work your seams in the normal way. So yeah, definitely don't recommend trying to sew up in this, but if you manage, do let us know. Okay, so I just thought as a little final thing, I'd show you one of the items that you can make using some of the techniques we've just shown you. The knit 2 together in pass slip stitch over is here in the middle, and there's decreasing, increasing casting on, so that's just one of the items. There's another one just behind me for a lovely little poncho that you can do. So if you like what you see, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I hope you find what we've done informative and useful. So enjoy your knitting.